In this video, we're going to look at how to set up switch access on an iPad, first having a look at what switch scanning looks like on the iPad. The iPad has two types of scanning patterns: item scan, also known as block scanning, and point scan, also known as gliding cursor or crosshair scanning. This iPad has been set to item scanning by default. In item scanning, you'll see a coloured box which moves around the screen row by row. It will loop around as many times as has been set on the iPad before the scan will cancel. When you see an item you want to select, you press the switch. Then it will scan through all the items on that selected row. Then you press the switch again on a highlighted item to select it. When you press the switch on a highlighted item, it'll bring up a scanning menu. This menu enables you to navigate and control other features of the iPad, but can be turned off if preferred. To then enable the item to be tapped on, you select the item Tap in the scanning menu with your switch, which can be seen in the top left corner of this menu. Using the scanning menu also enables me to return to the home page. I tap anywhere using the switch, and then with the scanning menu, I scan to Home, select that with my switch, and it will take me back to the main page. Now we will demonstrate point scan. To turn this on, tap anywhere, and that will bring up the scanning menu. On the second page, you'll see the gliding cursor in the top right corner of the scanning menu. So we are going to use the switch, scan through until we get to gliding cursor in the top right corner, select that with the switch, and now that has turned on the point scan. So this gliding cursor, as you can see here in blue, moves side to side. To select an item on the screen this time, you wait until the cursor is highlighting an area, and then you press the switch. So in this example, I am trying to select Notes, which can be seen at the bottom of the iPad. So I've pressed the switch, and now it brings up a line within the two lines. And when that cursor in the middle crosses over the point I want to select, I press the switch again. I press the switch, and now it's brought down a horizontal line, which moves up and down. When the cursor is highlighting an area that I want to select, the switch is tapped again. It then brings up another line within those two lines. And when that crosses over the point that I want to tap, I press the switch again. That then brings up the scanning menu, as we've seen before. And what we need to do is highlight Tap and then press the switch. And now I've opened Notes. So I'm going to demonstrate that again. Using the gliding cursor, we're going to type out the word hello. To set up switch access on the iPad, first you will need to connect your switch to the iPad. This can be done in two different ways depending on the switch interface you are using. In this example, the switch interface is plugged into the iPad charging port. This is a Tapio. It looks like a USB stick, which is attached to, in this case, a USB to Lightning cable, and is plugged into the iPad. On the other side, there is a switch jack, and the switch is plugged into this part. If you're using a different iPad, such as an iPad Pro, you might use a slightly different adapter. This picture shows an example of a USB-A to USB-C adapter that could be used. In this picture is an example of a Bluetooth switch interface. Please check the manufacturer instructions or your user guide for more details. But generally, what you'll need to do is ensure that the switch interface is charged first, then paired to the iPad. This can be done by going into the Bluetooth settings on the iPad, making sure that the Bluetooth is turned on your iPad, looking for the device on the iPad settings, and then clicking on it to pair it to the iPad. Now we'll have a look at how to set up switch scanning in the iPad settings. First of all, go into the iPad settings. Then scroll down on the left hand side until you find the accessibility section, and then click on that. Then scroll down on the right hand side until you find switch control. And please note that in older versions of iOS the accessibility menu may be in a different place, such as in general. I'd recommend not turning on switch control yet. First of all, go into switches. And then add a new switch. This is an external switch, so you do have the option to use the screen as a switch. Click on the switch to activate it, and then give it a name. Choose the switch action. I tend to use select item. Then go back. And there are several options here in the switch scanning menu. The main ones to know about are scanning style. So depending on how many switches you're using, you can have 2 switches, for example, or 1 switch. In this case, I'm just using 1 switch, so it's auto scanning. Auto scanning time enables me to change the speed of the blue boxes that move around the screen in item scan. So it will change how long each box pauses on a row or on an item. So in this case, I'm slowing the speed down by changing it from 1 second to 2 seconds. Similarly, if you're using point scan with the gliding cursor, you can change how fast or how slow the gliding cursor moves across the screen. The lower the number, the slower the cursor will move across the screen. So in this case, I'm making it faster. Loops is useful. That shows you how many times it will scan round the iPad before it cancels itself. So if you make a mistake, for example, this can be adjusted. There are lots of other options here which might be useful depending on your needs, but I'm going to keep the rest as they are by default here. And then you toggle the slider on here at the top green to turn on switch control. It's also useful, as can be seen here, to check the accessibility shortcut in accessibility and turn switch control on as an accessibility shortcut. This enables you to triple click the home button on the iPad to turn on and off switch control.